Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again today for this incredible history lesson session.
Hi there. I'm Jennifer Geller. I'm in the ensemble of Hamilton.
Hello, my name's Kyle Scatliff, and I play Lafayette and Jefferson in Hamilton.
And next up, we're bringing in our guests from Hamilton, but check out this short video first.
I'm past patiently waiting, I'm passionately smashing every expectation, every action's an act of creation. I'm laughing in the face of casualties and sorrow. For the first time I'm thinking past tomorrow. And I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey yo, I'm just at my country, I'm not stucky and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. We're gonna rise up, it's time to take a shot. We're gonna rise up, it's time to take a shot. We're gonna rise up, rise up. It's time to take a shot. Rise up, take a shot. Rise up, it's time to take a shot. Rise up, take a shot, shot. Hey, it's time to take a shot, time to take a shot. And I am not throwing away my shot.
And so please welcome Jennifer and Kyle from Hamilton. I don't think I really need to give an introduction on what Hamilton is. What do y'all think?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good here. Cool. So part of like the mega phenomenon Hamilton, like who knew a musical about Alexander Hamilton would blow up into what it is today? Now, the story takes place at, the very birth of America. Do you think it is still culturally and politically relevant today? And if so, how? Hitting you with the deep question first.
You want to go first, Gail, or me?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think not only is the story relevant, but I think that the way that it is told is very necessary in the way that it's not told by people who look like the people that were doing these things and making these changes back then. So it kind of, it's really like a modern version of what happened back then. But anytime something happens, like in the news, it's really crazy how hard these lyrics hit us on stage, knowing that like we are still going through the same things that that they were going through back then, and like the things that Hamilton wanted to change. And like in My Shot, that song in the beginning of the show, so many lyrics, and when he's saying rise up, and he's like, these are the things that need to change in the country. These are the things that are wrong politically, in the military, economically, like who's with me? And you see people throughout that song, like two of the girls literally walk in and they go like this. And it happens in like 2 seconds. And it's just one of those physicalized ways, which is why being a dancer in the show is so incredible, because there are so many things that you don't have to say. You can just do it with your body and the audience knows what's happening. And so in that way, back then Hamilton's trying to promote this change, and some people are like this and some people are like, yeah, I'm with you. Let me help you. I got your back. So it is a testament to how far we've come in a lot of ways, but it's also a testament to, we're all the way back there still in so many ways. So yeah, I think it's totally relevant. If you were to just sit down with the score and read some of the lyrics, you could be like, wow, this brings me back to 2020. So I think it becomes increasingly more important as we get further away from it. I don't think it's something that's in the past at all in any way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Love it. Yeah, it's a rather amazing thing because, as people say, history repeats. And it's not even that the specific of the history repeats, but the emotion of the history does repeat constantly, because people tend to be having discussions or fighting about the exact same manner of things. Like, where are we going as a country? Who are we as people? Who are we going to help? It's like all of those things are in the show. And it's a really pretty amazing thing to see, to be part of a show that is so constantly politically relevant all the time. to the point where you like come to watch it and you think you're kind of escaping, but you're actually falling deeper into the hole. You're into the hole, and there's a certain amount of determination shown in Hamilton himself about how much determination it does take to change something, anything, a system, a person, and I've always felt like there's kind of we're in a place of kind of apathy where so much has happened, where we can come see a show like that, and just his determination alone, the way it's written, the way that they've used rap music in order to even buoy that determination even more, gives you determination just watching him do it. And you know, I always hope that that's what'll happen. I keep thinking like, oh, the next president in like 20 years from now could be watching the show, like 30 years from now, like they could be here, finding their determination to help change the world.
And, you know, I mean, it's a very American focused show because obviously it is about like the birth of America.
Mm-hmm.
But why should our international friends come see the show?
I think that's the thing that's so beautiful about it, is that every country has gone through what we went through to an extent. We've all had to find ourselves in a moment where you want your country to succeed, or you want your country to be better, or you want to make something of yourself. Because, you know, it's always interesting to me that we call the making yourself something out of nothing the American dream, but at the same time, that's just a dream of life for most people. That's what they want, is like, if you come from anything, you just want to be what you felt like you were born to be. And Hamilton felt like he was born to be a changer of the world. And I think that's, at least for myself, it is what is so important about the show every single day, is who are you and what will you do to get to yourself?
I think as well, just if you take out the historical elements of the show, which like kind of, how could you, of course, but if you do, what are you left with? You're left with a love story. You're left with a story about friendship, about jealousy, about someone who is unfaithful to his wife, a love triangle, or kind of square, I guess. But if you do take away those elements about like, sure, this is about America, this is about this and that, if you were to ignore those, this is a story about human beings. And you'll laugh because things are hilarious. You'll cry because people pass away in the show. People are in love. Like, there are like, in the end, like the gut-wrenching parts are the human parts, not even necessarily the bars that are being spit about history and things like that. So I think really in the end, it's like, it's about love, friendship, jealousy, marriage, family. Yeah.
Now, there's a live capture film of Hamilton, which was great during the pandemic, and I will go out of my way and say an official version. Okay. And for those who might have seen the film, what is it that they can't get from the film that they should come and see it in person?
I will say, if you did see the Disney Plus, you missed 75% of the show, at least.
Yep, you did.
Yep. It is so amazing because as I was watching it, like, you know, when I saw the show for the first time, I was way in the back of the mezzanine. So when I saw the Disney Plus, I got to see the close-ups, and that's amazing. That's something that you don't get in a Broadway theater, no matter, you know, maybe if you're in the first 10 rows, but you don't get to see like the veins in people's eyes, you know, blood vessels. You know? So that was really cool. But then, you know, having done the show for 3 years before the Disney Plus came out, knowing how much is going on while you get that close-up of the principal roles is so crazy. And it is just like, so last Friday we filmed 2 numbers for Good Morning America. And in rehearsal a couple days before, they were adding things to the number just as space fillers because we weren't on our stage. We were not able to exit. And then we watched the Good Morning America, or at least I watched the Good Morning America, what we shot, and all of that was gone. I was like, why did we even add any of that? Because you didn't see it because of the way that they were filming. So I think that it's incredibly similar. It's the same thing as the Disney Plus. Whatever you are focusing on, you have to know that there are a million other incredibly fascinating things happening on all parts of the stage. And I actually, a little while ago, I can't remember if I watched this or if I read it, but it was an interview with our choreographer, Andy Blankenbuehler. And he was saying that he choreographs in a way so that no one in the audience can ever look 2 inches to the right and their mind can drift. If you look 2 inches to the right, you're seeing a story. There is always something happening. There are things happening where we as the dancers sometimes don't think that we're seen because we're in the shadows under a staircase and we have choreography to do, or we're doing something. So I think that the things that you miss on the Disney Plus are so breathtakingly beautiful and honestly necessary for the story. If not only be aside from the point that live theater is totally different than film, it's a different experience regardless, but you do miss a lot of what's happening around the one shot that you're getting.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how many audience members, when you go to the stage door, will say oh my God, I watched it on Disney Plus, but I came here and I was just what? Their minds are blown, because it is true. It's true what Geller is saying. Everything is so close on Disney Plus. And I remember asking Andy this in rehearsal about the choreography, because I was like, how in the world did you even think of this? And because I remember when I first saw it, I was so overwhelmed with everything that was happening that it didn't allow you to feel like you could sit still. Your mind couldn't sit still. It was constantly jumping from thing to thing. And then by the end, you were so overwhelmed, you were crying and you just didn't know why. You're like, what is happening to me? And I always thought it's an incredible thing. There are things in the show that I didn't even see until even last week. And I've been in the show for 4 years, where it's you're oh, wait, you're doing what there? Oh, I didn't even know that was happening. And it's that layered. It's so deeply layered that there's no room to escape the story as it's happening. Yeah.
So what you're saying is people should come see it multiple times. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, I actually saw it twice. The first time I saw it 2 times within 2 weeks. And the second time I saw way more things I didn't even see the first time, and still cried at the end because it's that deep. Yeah.
So I'm a product, no tea, no shade, and I'm repping it strong. I'm a product of New York City public school education. And I will admit, beyond knowing Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton had a duel and Alexander Hamilton died. Alexander Hamilton, that's his new name, died. I didn't know really anything else. That really wasn't taught. So my final question to you is, was there something you learned in this process that also surprised
you? For me, actually, when I first saw the show, it was all of the stuff that happened to Hamilton in Act 2. Especially Say No to This. That is one of the most, you just don't expect it. You don't see it coming. And then when it happened, it was the first thing I looked up when I left the theater. I was like, I'm sorry, he did what? Because there's a lot of things that go missing. Because most people probably had that question of why weren't all of the founding fathers eventually president? It's what pushed them off the track. And if you don't know the story of what happened, of course, it's you would never know that was the reason he couldn't be president. You would never know. And that was the biggest shocker to me when I first seen it.
I have two fun facts that I love. I definitely, I as well did not learn really anything about Hamilton in school. One thing that like surprised me that's just like a little fun fact is that Peggy's name, do you know that her name actually was Margarita? Her name is not. So Peggy was not Peggy. That was a nickname for her. And something else that I learned in the process that like you would not know from the show is that, which I think a lot of people assume this because having one child was not like very customary during that time. But Hamilton and Eliza did have 8 kids.
Yeah.
They just have one son named Philip. Many of them did pass away when they were younger. But yeah, it's interesting that Philip is the only child that they even mention.
Yeah, I brought that up the other day. I was like, why don't they talk about any of his other kids?
Yes, there is that part, and we know when Burr says something about, I hope you save some money for your daughters and sons. Mm-hmm. Back where you come from. Yeah, so I guess he mentions it. And the first time I heard that, I actually was like, he only has one son. What do you mean? But yeah, they had many kids. So there are just like, especially if you read like the massive book that actually the musical that inspired Lynn to write the musical. There are a lot of things in there that are kind of surprising that you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And it's really because a lot of people didn't necessarily learn about this in school. And so what we know as history, many people like currently, they know because of the show. But there is definitely a lot of information in that book that just didn't make it to the musical because it's already 3 hours long and I don't think we need any more of it.
Yeah, it's long enough.
True. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today.